The world's oldest paintings weren't made by us. They were made by Neanderthals. When we think of prehistoric art, the image that comes to mind is of Homo sapiens painting bison and horses on the walls of Lascaux. For a long time, it was believed that the ability to create and appreciate art was exclusive to our species. But science tells us a different story, a story in which Neanderthals were also artists. Far from being primitive brutes, they used art to express themselves, to communicate, and to give meaning to a dangerous world. To understand what art meant to them, we need to go beyond our own definition and dive into a world where aesthetics was a fundamental part of life. To understand the role of art in the lives of Neanderthals, we need to contextualize the world they lived in. For them, art wasn't a decoration, but a form of adaptation and expression. Our understanding of their artistic production doesn't come from museums, but from carefully analyzed evidence at archaeological sites. The discovery of perforated shells, eagle talons, and pigments in their shelters is the strongest proof of their artistic life. However, it was carbon dating that changed the game. Recent dating of artifacts and paintings in Spanish caves, which date back 65,000 years, that is before the arrival of Homo sapiens in Europe, challenged the paradigm of who the true artists of the Paleolithic were. The analysis of materials, such as ochre and manganese, shows us that the preparation of pigments for art was a common part of their daily activities. Art, for Neanderthals, was a way of understanding and giving meaning to the world, a window into their symbolic mind, which we will explore next. The first forms of Neanderthal art we know of are not large cave paintings, but rather the use of pigments and ornaments, a form of complex communication. The act of painting the body and wearing jewelry was not just vanity. It was a way of showing the world who you were. In several archaeological sites, we find blocks of ochre and manganese with signs of use. These pigments were used to paint the body and hides, perhaps in rituals or to demonstrate social status. Body art was a nonverbal language, capable of transmitting messages in a world without writing. And the ornaments? The discovery of perforated shells and eagle talons used as pendants shows that they had an aesthetic sense. These objects, which had no practical function, served as symbols of group affiliation, personal identity, or as amulets. This aesthetic shows us that Neanderthals lived in a world of symbols and meanings, which leads us to ask, if they used symbols on their bodies, what would they be drawing on their cave walls? But Neanderthal art went beyond body paint. It also extended to the caves in a way that intrigues us to this day. For a long time, it was believed that cave art was an invention exclusive to Homo sapiens, but recent discoveries have turned that idea on its head. The world's oldest paintings, discovered in caves in Spain, are not realistic representations of animals, but rather of dots and lines. The dating of 65,000 years, tens of thousands of years before our arrival in Europe, proves that Neanderthals were already creating art. What did these symbols mean? The answer is still a mystery, but it suggests that the Neanderthal mind was capable of abstract and symbolic thought. Furthermore, the discovery of animal bones with engravings and geometric markings also shows their ability to create patterns and symbols. This wasn't just an act of marking, but a way of creating meaning and recording information, something that was previously thought to be exclusive to our species. Art for Neanderthals wasn't about creating an image of reality, but about expressing something about their inner world. So what did Neanderthals really do with art? They used pigments and ornaments to express themselves and communicate, and they created abstract symbols on their cave walls. Art, for them, was not a pastime, but a fundamental part of life that helped them make sense of a complex world. They were not just primitive brutes. They were artists, creators, and thinkers. And the greatest lesson we can take from them is that the ability to create art is not a recent invention. It's a trait that connects us, showing that creativity and the need to express oneself are traits that transcend our species. Art is not a human invention. It is an invention of humanity.